Hello everyone, Song here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a tier list of all stratagems in Helldivers 2. I'm going to do this in groups of the various stratagems, and we're going to start with the support weapons. So let's get started. And the first support weapon we have here is the Arc Thrower. This is without a doubt S tier. I think this might be the strongest weapon in the game currently. I use this weapon a lot, and it is incredibly strong. You can destroy basically any type of enemy. Weaker enemies die super quick. Even heavy armored enemies like chargers, you can kill in 6 shots to the head. I feel like it might be a little bit stronger on bug missions compared to bots, but you can still use it in both modes. So overall, it's an incredible weapon. All you have to do is just be careful about not team killing, and then you'll be fine. Yeah, there's not very many downsides to using this weapon besides that, and if you get good with it, you're good to go. Next up here we have what is the laser cannon. This did get buffed recently, and it's better against bots than bugs, but I still think it's still just okay. I know it can kill bots pretty quickly if you hit them in their weak points, but I still feel like it could be stronger. And against bugs, I would definitely not bring it. And against bots, you can kill the Hulks and whatnot pretty quickly if you aim at their eye and the other various bots, but it feels like it heats up pretty quickly, and trying to take out everything with it doesn't seem to be working. You'd probably be better off with other weapons like the auto cannon or something if you wanted to do things. So maybe it'll get stronger in the future, but it's still all right to use, and it can be fun since it's a laser. Next weapon, we have the grenade launcher. I feel like this is another S tier weapon. In my mind, this is like a one-handed autocannon, if that makes sense, in basically its functionality, but what it can serve to do in a group. You can use it to, of course, attack enemies, but it also can destroy certain buildings. It can just close fabricators or the bug nests. And since it's one-handed, it also opens up your backpack slot. A lot of times you might be bringing the supply pack with it, since it can run out of ammo pretty quickly. But you do have the option to bring other backpacks if you wanted to. And if you do bring supply pack anyways, you can also use that to help out your teammates. So overall, it's a very strong weapon. Let's continue on here. Next up, so we got the spear. The spear, yes. I feel like this might just be okay currently. Almost situational. It is strong. There seems to be some issues that hold it back currently. It has some lock-on issues, and it can only, target certain enemies. I'd almost want to say situational, even though it is very, very strong. If they fix some of the issues, maybe it'll be better. But maybe we'll say just okay, but you might be better off using other weapons currently. I do think it's a cool concept though, but yeah, maybe we'll just go situational currently because there's other options that I feel like can fill its role better. Next up is the rail cannon. The rail gun, not the cannon. The rail gun. I don't know. I feel like this might still be good even after the nerfs. Thing is, you do need to still bring it up to 90% to do a lot of the things it can do. But it's still decently strong for what it can do. I'm going to say it's good, actually. I think it's still a good weapon. Before the nerfs, it was like S plus amazing tier, but it's still pretty strong. And I think if you can get the charging of it down, if you can get used to doing that 90% charge, it's still a pretty good weapon. Next up is the autocannon. So I think this is another S tier weapon. You can do it just, I think just like all the things that you can do with this weapon is what makes it so strong. It's similar to the grenade launcher, like I was saying. You can take out propaganda tower. Was it legal broadcast towers or propaganda towers, whatever. The, you know, spore spewers, I guess anything doing that, but also you can close the bug nests, the fabricators. It can deal with medium armor and lower enemies, and also can deal with heavier armored enemies if you hit certain weak points. It feels like it is stronger against bots, because bots have a lot of weak points that you can aim at, and this is a pretty precise weapon. I feel like it is easier to aim with than the grenade launcher. So that's one of the advantages to using the autocannon. I guess one disadvantage to autocannon is you do need to bring your own backpack. If they made it so teammates could also assisted reload you, even if you are wearing the backpack, this would just be amazing. But yes, it also has assisted reload functionality. Normally, you probably won't use it unless you're in a coordinated group. Even then, you might not use it, but this is definitely a very good weapon. All right, next up, the flamethrower. I think this is good. I think it's pretty good. It does have some downsides. And I guess the main thing, so first of all, you'd probably only be using this against bugs. I don't think it's the best against bots since to their range, and you're going to be mostly in close range combat with bugs, which is where the flamethrower shines. And it can take out enemies pretty quickly. So bugs, even chargers, it can take down pretty quickly if you focus fire on a foot. But the problem is, even if you put the enemies on fire, they don't seem to care, and they still keep coming your way. And some enemies, that can be a problem, because if you put them on fire and they jump on you, you could be put on fire. So you kind of need to keep moving backwards while setting things on fire, and sometimes you can't kill them close enough before they get to you. Other enemies, for example, even like bile spewers, you can't really seem to kill them fast enough before they shoot at you, so you need to kind of maybe set them on fire and run and just take them out slowly. I feel like this would be a lot stronger if it also had some crowd control or something tied to it. So if you set enemies on fire, if they like slowed down or stopped for a second, or I don't know, did something, if there was some other CC kind of attached to it so the enemies just couldn't keep coming at you after they're set on fire. But it does feel pretty strong, and it's very fun to use. I'll give it that. The flamethrower is fun, but probably these other S tier weapons would serve you better if you really wanted to try to find like the most optimal way to play. But it is still a very fun weapon, and it's pretty decent, I would think. All right, next up, what do we have here? This looks like the recoilless rifle. Recoilless rifle, I think it might be A tier. It is capable of taking down Bile Titans in 2 shots. I don't know the consistency of that yet. I did some testing with it, and it is possible, but I couldn't do it every time. But otherwise, it can be 4 shots, but it is an option. But it can take down chargers in 1 hit. It also is pretty good against other heavily armored enemies, so against bots as well, it's pretty strong. So if you're looking for a weapon to deal with heavily armored targets, the recoilless rifle might be your weapon. The only thing is, though, it feels like it might be actually outshined by the expendable anti-tank, which I think would be S tier. This has a low cooldown. It gives you 2 shots, and you can potentially kill another thing with the drop pod. And you usually want to take this with another support weapon. So you could bring one of these other support weapons and then bring the expendable for heavily armored targets, but it only has 2 shots. So if you wanted, you know, what is, I think 5 shots you get with the recoilless rifle. I believe it's 5, but yeah, around that much. But that would maybe give you a little bit more going power if you stuck with the recoilless rifle, but the expendable is overall a little bit more flexible. But I think both are still pretty good. And the expendable is even better since of its flexibility and being able to drop them for both yourself and teammates and things like that. And what do we have next? Let's take a look. It looks like we got the Stalwart. I think it's okay, maybe. I think it's okay. I don't think it's amazing. Some people think it's pretty good or great or things like that. I think it's okay. I still think probably the other weapons are better. You're going to be struggling against a lot of armored targets. I don't even think that can pierce medium armored, since it gives up that for faster reload. So it's going to be struggling against, yeah, even medium armored targets. It does have a lot of bullets, so you can take out a lot of enemies. You could be against bugs, you could focus on just taking out hunters and things like that, but I feel like there are better options, but it can be a fun weapon to use if you enjoy shooting a lot of bullets. The machine gun, I think it's kind of similar. It does have the downside of having to stop to reload, because you need to kind of sit down, and that can be pretty painful. But it can take out the medium armored targets, which can be helpful. But it still struggles against heavily armored targets. It might even be, I don't know, worse than the Stalwart, but they're, I guess, pretty comparable if you want better, you know, armor and damage or more bullets and reload on the move. So those are, yeah, just they're 2 guns. they're okay. Next up is we got the anti-material. I think this is, I think it might be better than people give it credit for. I might even say it's a, so it's definitely going to shine better against bots, right? But it does serve its purpose. I mean, of course it does struggle against heavily armored targets. If it had heavy armor piercing, this would be incredible. But even so, you can take out quite a few enemies quickly if you aim for their weak points. Against bugs, if you aim for their head, you can take out most enemies besides chargers and belt titans. Even against bots, if you aim for their head, you can take out even hulks and things like that pretty quickly. So it's a pretty strong weapon, and I think it's fun to use. It does have a little issue with the sights not being totally correct compared to where the bullet flies currently, but overall I still think it's a pretty strong weapon. And then finally, I don't know if this is exactly a weapon, but we do have the Exosuit. Should I move on to that? I think I covered all of the stratagem weapons here, the support weapons. And overall, so do we have here, just to kind of overview what we did. In S, we had arc thrower, grenade launcher, autocannon, spend one at a tank. In A, recoilless rifle and anti-material. B, railgun and flamethrower. C, laser cannon, stalwart, machine gun, and then the spear. I don't know, maybe I'm doing the spear dirty here. It could be maybe okay, but I feel like you'd just be better off with the recoilless currently. If they fixed the targeting with it. It made it a little bit easier to use. It would probably move up quite a bit. Maybe be on the same level as the recoilless, but it just is set kind of held back by, I don't know if it's like bugs or some usability issues currently. Okay, so let's move on to next thing. So should we do, yeah, we'll put it on the, we'll bring up the Exosuit too. The Exosuit, I'm gonna say it's great, maybe. It's pretty good at what it does. And they did just recently fix, I think, the missile bug with it. So when turning, you blow yourself up. You do need to be careful of some enemies coming up to you, but it's capable of taking down pretty heavily armored targets. You want to be using this against bugs, not bots, because bots are going to be able to shoot you with rockets from afar and you'll die instantly. But against bugs, you can hold your ground pretty well. You can take out Bile Titans with it. You can take out Chargers with it. You can, I think Bile Titans like two or three rockets is able to take them out. So it's pretty quick. So you could even take out like 4 or maybe like 5 Bile Titans or so with it. So it's a very strong stratagem. I would mostly use it for probably holding a point. It's good against like the Eradicate Terminid missions. But overall, I think it's a pretty strong stratagem. Next up is the supply backpacks. So we'll start with this. What do we have here? Just the normal guard dog. Say okay. Let's say okay with that. It runs out of ammo so quickly. Like, I don't think it's maybe situational, but it's okay. Because it just, was it the other guard dog? I think I have the other guard dog here. Guard dog Rover just outshines it, like, totally. And I would say the guard dog Rover, it's probably S tier. You'd want to use against bugs. You wouldn't use the guard dog Rover against bots, but against bugs, it's definitely S tier. Just being able to deal with all enemies that get close to you, mostly hunters. And it's consistent, and it stays around for a really long time compared to the normal guard dog. Next up, what do we have here? This is the shield pack, shield generator pack. This is definitely S tier. You can use this against anything, really. Bugs or bots. It shines even more against bots since they have so many insta-kill things from a range. But even against bugs, it can help you avoid CC, so like slows and whatnot, which is very important, and can help you avoid some insta-kills from Bile Spewers or Bile Titans. So definitely S tier. Against bugs, I do feel like I like maybe the Rover a little bit better, but the shield can also save you from friendly fire if you're playing with randoms, so it might be better with randoms. But anyways, let's keep moving on here. We got the ballistic shield backpack. I mean, it does look cool, but it's more situational. It's a one-handed shield. If you're going to use this, you'd want to use this against the bots. And I would probably equip the SMG. Was it like the Defender SMG? And you can have fun holding a shield and running in with a SMG or something like that. You can also use it with a pistol. But I feel like it's completely outshined by the shield generator pack. But it does have a fun factor to it. It's probably more fun to use than the shield, maybe. But yes, we'll say it's situational. The supply pack, probably rate this at A. This is useful for some of support weapons that run out of ammo more quickly. Say you could use this. The grenade launcher is a prime choice to use this with. It means you have a lot of grenades you can use. And this supply pack also gives you stims and grenades back. which is nice. So you can get a quite a few things from it. Yeah, so I don't know. It has a very good service. It gives you both ammo, stims, grenades, so things like that. You can refill up. You can use it to refill your own weapons. Keep that in mind. You can refill your teammates' weapons, so you can kind of help out in situations where you're not able to call down resupplies as often. And you have some choice. Do you want to use it? I would also maybe use this with flamethrower, maybe the railgun. Those are probably the main choices you would use it with. But yeah, it does have a pretty good use, and it's a pretty solid backpack, I would have to say. Next up is the jump pack. I'd say it's good. It has a pretty long cooldown, which is a little bit of a downside. And I was originally thinking it would be like a jetpack where you could kind of fly around a bit, but you basically really do jump. It does have advantages where if you jump from a high area like a hill or a mountain or something, you can fly pretty far and it'll stop your fall. It can also let you get up to areas you normally couldn't get up to. So you can get advantage of getting on top of the high ground to, I don't know, so for bugs, it's pretty useful because you can avoid a lot of the bugs and you can hit enemies from up there. So I'd say it's pretty good, but not amazing. I would think the other backpacks might kind of outshine it a little bit, but it's still a solid choice. So those are all the backpacks. And for the defensive stratagems, let's look at these. So first up is the EMS mortar. This is S tier. Without a doubt, S tier. This is probably the best defensive stratagem. You can use this, I would say, on just about anything. Bugs or bots. It's strong on everything. Even if it does hit an ally, it won't kill them. It'll stun the enemies. It's great at defensive, trying to defend a point. So like on the recent like silo missions and things like that, it was amazing. But it's amazing just about anywhere. Even probably waiting for extraction, you could use it. It stops enemies in their tracks and it has a ton of ammo. It's all around just a very, very good stratagem. So definitely try it out if you haven't used it. Next up, Rocket Sentry. I don't know about this one. Say maybe okay, good. I don't know. Probably okay. Maybe a little bit better. Okay, I would say it's good. It's not. I feel like it's outshined by the autocannon though. So that's the thing. I feel like the autocannon's a little bit better. And I don't even know if the autocannon would be considered great. Maybe, but all the other kind of defensive options maybe aren't as good as just like this EMS. I might arrange these. Let me just put these down and then maybe I'll arrange them a little bit more. So next up we had the mortar. The mortar also is pretty good. I would say you need to be careful. Let's put it that way. You need to be careful. Because definitely against bugs, if the bugs are near you, you're going to start hitting your allies. So it's probably better against bots. But it is pretty capable of taking things out from a range. So I think it is a strong. The Gatling gun. The Gatling gun sentry, Gatling sentry. I'd say it's okay. I mean, it's pretty good at taking out lots of enemies for what it does, but I mean, there's better sentry options, I would think, if you wanted to bring something. And then you have, you know, like the machine gun sentry, which is I don't know. I don't even know if I would say it's like situational, but it's basically like a downgrade to the Gatling, or the Gatling's just an upgrade to that. And then you have the mines, right? And the mines, you might be putting yourself on hard mode if you bring these. I mean, they are capable of taking out enemies, but you need to be careful because a lot of times a few of the mines will remain. And if you ever accidentally enter that same area again, you might not realize there's a few mines left and you might step on those, so it has high team kill potential. And I don't even know how many enemies are really being killed by these mines. Probably other stratagems are more consistent. The mines can be fun to use, that's for sure. So they do still have a fun factor. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if they made the mines even stronger, capable of taking out like things like chargers or something like that. I don't know. As for the Tesla, probably okay. So Tesla can shine quite a bit in a few situations. You're probably going to be bringing this against bugs. In the recent, like, defend a silo missions, Teslas were really strong. So they were meta in that mission, I would have to say. They are weak. You do want to bring these Teslas against bugs, so that is a stipulation, but they are weak to chargers and Bile Titans. So if there's going to be a lot of chargers and Bile Titans, these are going to be destroyed pretty quickly. Against other bugs, they hold out quite well. They're able to kill quite a few things. They do have team kill potential if your teammates are not paying attention, and it has longer range than you would expect, so that is something to be aware of. I'd almost want to say it's good. It might even be better than a Gatling. I personally like it quite a bit, actually, but you do need to be aware that it's going to be destroyed by chargers and Bile Titans, so if those are around, it could be a problem, but for what it does it pretty good. It can block off choke points pretty well. And since they decreased the charger spawns, charger and Bile Titan spawns, I think it's gotten better because of that. Because it can take out most of the other enemies pretty well. So if you want to block a choke point, that might be your option there. Next up is the shield generator. I might have to say this is okay. So I know you can do some funny things with it. You can kill Bile Titans if you make them spit into it. And it can block charges, if they slam into it. And you can use it as a diversion because enemies try to go and destroy it. So if you throw it in the location, you can use it to divert things. But in most cases, you could just, kill the enemies instead. Or do other things if you really wanted to deal with enemies. So being fancy with it is maybe not its intended use. But I mean, it's all right. And it has a low cooldown, which is nice. 90 seconds, which is pretty low. So I would say it's all right, and it can be useful if you want to bring it along. It might be stronger against bots since they shoot a lot of things, and it can have some funny uses against bugs. And then finally, the what is this? The minigun emplacement. I'd say this is situational. Maybe this would have had some uses. I didn't use it on the silo missions, but I could see it being useful there. I could see it having some uses in some places. I've tried this out a few times, and it's all right. It's all right, and it can be fun to use. So that's one thing, but it does have limited ammo, so you need to be aware of that. In most cases, just having a mech would probably be stronger. But yeah, I think that's all the defensive stratagems. So I don't know if any of them are exactly great. I don't know. Maybe the autocannon could be great. I feel like autocannon might have more uses, but a lot of these can be destroyed pretty easily. So maybe it's probably something like this for the defensive. Maybe, you know, one of these ones good could be great, but the only one I would think is amazing is the EMS mortar. All right, next up, let's move to the orbitals, the offensive stratagems here. So first up, orbital smoke. You know, smokes are good against bots, but the orbital smoke strike, it has a 100-second cooldown. If this was down to 75 seconds, like the gas or EMS, I think it would be better. But I feel like if you want to bring smoke, the eagle smoke is probably going to end up being better. But it is a smoke option. It's okay. Maybe situational almost. But I would say, yeah, it's okay. You probably want to bring this against bots. I don't know if smokes are going to be that useful against bugs, but next up is the orbital EMS strike. Let's say this is pretty good. I would say great, even. This is a very low cooldown, so 75 seconds, and you can stop enemies basically in their tracks with it. Since it has such a low cooldown, you can use this basically whenever something like a fight occurs. So if you're moving around the map, if you're moving around a lot, it's probably better than the mortar. So when going from objective to objective, whenever a fight breaks out, you just throw this down on them and you can take out enemies really quickly. If they bring down, for example, like bug breaches or dropships and whatnot, if you just throw this on that location, you can basically stop them from doing anything for quite a bit. So overall, the low cooldown and the being able to use it just about every single fight, I think makes it very strong. So I would say this is one of like the better orbitals. Next up is the gas strike. I'd say this also pretty good actually. Yeah, I'd have to say this is pretty good. It also has a pretty low cooldown, so it's similar to the orbital EMS. So once again, you can just throw it down whenever a fight occurs, and it takes out all the weaker enemies and weakens the stronger ones. If you can get them stuck on it, so if it was combined with the EMS of some sort, you can actually kill some of the stronger enemies as well. So overall, just the low cooldown and being able to use it every fight and kill things makes it pretty useful and strong. Next up here, we have the orbital precision strike. So again, this is one of the lower cooldown orbitals, and it's actually capable of taking out quite strong enemies like Bile Titans and whatnot, or other heavily armored targets, like I guess against a max, you know, like hulks or tanks or certain artillery things and things like that. So it has high damage, lower cooldown, on the low side for cooldown. And I guess the downside is it has a long call-in time. So you need to kind of set it up to get it to hit, but it's overall, I think, a pretty great stratagem. These other ones, the rail cannon strike, I don't think it's as good as the precision strike actually, because it has such a long cooldown, 210 seconds for this, and it can't even one-shot Bile Titans. So it can't one-shot Bile Titans. It can one-shot a charger, but what are you going to be doing using a 210-second cooldown to one-shot a charger when you could just call in expendable anti-tank? I mean, in most cases, you'd want an expendable anti-tank for a lot of things compared. Yeah, just if it was able to one-shot Bile Titans, maybe it would be better. but overall, the 210-second cooldown, if this was half the cooldown, then it'd definitely be a lot better. But yeah, just too long a cooldown to be useful every single fight. It's capable of, you know, dealing with those important targets when you need it, and it auto aims, which is nice, so you're not going to be missing. So it's good in that regard, but even so, just yeah, the cooldown kind of holds it back, and not being able to one-shot, you know, some of those priority targets. Next up is the laser. And as for laser, I think this is great. One thing that kind of holds it back is, once again, a long cooldown, 300-second cooldown, and it only has 3 uses. But other than that, once you call this in, it stays around for quite a bit. It can take down Bile Titans, and if you have the Bile Titan already weakened, you could take down like a Bile Titan and switch to other targets. Against the bots as well, it's pretty useful. So useful just about against anything, and it avoids teammates for the most part. It seems to target higher priority targets first, so it moves from those to those, from one to the next one. So overall, I think it's a pretty good orbital, but having only 3 uses and a long cooldown. I mean, if it was one or the other, if it only had 3 uses but had a shorter cooldown, that could be pretty fun. Or if it just had the longer cooldown, but you could use it unlimited number of times, that'd be nice. But it's kind of held back by having both those limitations. Next up is the Orbital Walking Barrage. And as for the barrages, this is one of the ones I use more often. I would say it's good. So basically what this one does is it shoots down in a line and then moves forward and shoots down again and shoots down again, moving slowly farther backwards. And this can be useful for taking out bot bases if you want to hit the whole base, because it can go from the front to back, or even bug nests. You can kind of cover the whole nest as it moves from front to back again. So it's useful, I think, for taking out those kind of like nests or fabricators and things like that. It can be useful against like enemies approaching you, because you can kind of just shoot their whole line of units. I think it's pretty comparable to the 120 barrage, because the 120 barrage can also hit, you know, like bases or nests and things like that, and also can kind of hit groups of enemies. It's not as large as the 380, which means that it's not going to be as likely to have team fire. So if you just store this down at the center of a base and make sure to let your teammates know not to enter that area, everyone is most likely going to be all right. And it does a pretty good job of destroying things. So I think this might come down to preference, but I think both of these are pretty good for, as for barrages go. The 380 is probably going to be situational. Mostly just because of how large it is. If you run into large like bot bases or large nests for the bugs, it can be nice to throw down and take down. Potentially you can destroy, you know, like fabricators or nests and things like that, or other buildings. But it has it requires a lot of coordination, and it may not hit all the targets you want to be hitting with it. If you have multiple teammates bring this, it can be fun to just rain down deaths on like a wide area, because everyone just can kind of throw this at once, and that can be really fun to use. So the fun factor is way up there, but you need to be kind of careful with using the 380, and it makes it a little bit more situational compared to these other barrages, which can be a little bit more directed with their fire. And then we have some other options here. The Airburst Strike, I'd say this is either okay or good. It's pretty good at what it does, but I think it's still weaker than just like general air strikes compared to like an Eagle. But it's alright. It shoots down multiple bursts to damage enemies. It has 120-second cooldown. If this was, once again, a little bit shorter, I think it would find a lot more use. But in most cases, people just bring eagles to deal with things that this wants to deal with. And as for Gatling, maybe situational. But I think that covers all the orbital. Next up, onto the eagles. These are some of the more popular ones. 500 kilogram. I'd say this is S tier. You can take down high priority targets. Once you get your ship upgrade, you get 2 of these, which makes it pretty great. The eagles all around are pretty great because even after you use them, it's only, I think, like a 2-minute cooldown for it to come back. So even compared to like other orbitals, like that last, was it the orbital airburst strike? That even has a 2-minute cooldown, so these basically comparable to that as well, but you can get multiple different eagle kind of things. But yeah, the 500, if you want to kill something, you can just throw it on a 500, take out titans in one shot, take out other bot things in one shot. Overall, it's pretty solid if you wanted a directed high damaging skill. This is usually what you're going to be bringing. Next up is the rocket pods. I still don't know how I fully feel about these. I feel like maybe they're okay. I've used them a few times, and I wasn't really blown away with them. Maybe if I kept using them, I could appreciate them more. As an eagle, I mean, it's nice being able to use them, you know, multiple times. 2 uses normally, and then 3 uses once you get them upgraded. And they target higher priority targets for you. Although they seem to miss occasionally. I think if the target's moving, perhaps the rockets don't track fully. So that's an issue. So I don't know. I feel like they're okay, but maybe just bringing like the other multi-use options are usually better. Because you could probably do something similar with the other ones anyways. But let me know in the comments what you think about these. Maybe they're better than I think they are. Next up is the smoke strike. So it's probably going to be a better smoke strike if you want a smoke option. Because you get 2 of these and then 3 of them with the upgrade. And it covers a pretty good line when you call down the smoke. So you can block off vision. Better against bots because you can block off vision to certain areas. If you want to, I don't know, run away or maybe defend an area, you can turn on smoke to help you defend. Overall, I think smoke is pretty strong actually against bots. So if people, but maybe people aren't using as much as they could. So yeah, if you're fighting against the robots, consider using smoke. I think it might make things easier. Next up is napalm. I actually think napalm's all right. I'd say it's good actually. I use this quite a bit actually, against just if you want to take down, you know, like normal enemies, mostly against, I don't know. Yeah, it's basically one of the options you have. So you have like, I guess maybe two main options if you want to take down just like general enemies. So napalm. Another comparable thing is the cluster bomb. And the cluster bomb is probably a little bit better. I don't know. Though I find myself bringing napalm because I just like to fire. So maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I find these kind of comparable. Because the cluster bomb has a little bit longer, I guess, like width, so it can hit more targets, but the napalm remains burning, so you can create a wall of fire, so if enemies keep appearing afterwards, you can continue to damage them, take out weaker enemies. So that's one of the strengths of the fire, that it just kind of remains there. So if you want to make a wall of fire to block things off or cover up a breach or something like that, it can be pretty strong. And next up is the airstrike. This is another S tier. The versatility to this is pretty strong. You can destroy buildings or fabricators or, like nests and things like that with it. It can be useful just for attacking enemies normally as well. So it basically will do whatever you want with it. So it's another option for just like multi-use scenarios. It can hit. It has a longer, I guess, width than you compared to the 500. So if you want to take out multiple buildings at once, it can be perhaps a better option. And then finally, the strafing run. I don't know. I don't think it's like probably horrible, but there's probably better options compared to it. It's like bringing cluster bomb or fire or something like that. Maybe it is still okay. Just I never really see myself bringing this compared to these other options. Maybe there's a situation where you want to bring it. In any case, this is what I think of the current stratagems in Helldivers 2. Let me know if you have different thoughts or something should be stronger, or if you think something is weaker. Tell me about it in comments. I love reading them, and maybe I can try out certain weapons a little bit more, try out different strategies some more as well. But this is how I feel about the game currently, and I look forward to hearing what you think as well. Until next time, thanks for watching. Later.